I continue to welcome each and everyone. At this very moment, I will request the judges to get on the panel. So that is our panel tonight, and the BSU and master teams, get ready to your positions. You can choose any side because the panel will put you anywhere. But for the purposes of sitting, you can choose any side. BSU and master teams, within the next few seconds, take up your seats. BSU and master teams, if you are shortlisted to represent your university, take up your seats. Then, we are going for the debate. This is the real debate. This is the real debate, BSU and master. I will invite the judges to brief us, give us the motion, and we start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'll just call my panel to introduce themselves and to give the guidelines in 1 minute.
Good afternoon to you all. I'm Sandra Martin from Barra University of Science and Technology. I'm doing Bachelor of Information and Technology in year 2.
My name is Yamurichi Joyce Secret from Short Stretch University, doing law, second year.
So one, we are going to use the British parliamentary format, and we are going to use the standard timing. So I'm going to issue out these documents, these ballots. I'm going to call representatives. For those who don't know what British parliamentary is for the first time, we always have 4 parts. We have the government side and the opposition side. So we always have the opening government and the closing government. Then we also have the opening opposition and the closing opposition. So we are going to see how they play the roles, and without any other further delay, I'm going to invite representatives in a few to come and give their ballots. Okay? Please, representatives, come. Okay? If you pick OP, your opening opposition. If you pick CO, your closing opposition. If you pick CG, your closing government. If you pick OG, you're the opening government. The rules of procedure are, for POI, I think everyone on the panel knows it. That's opening opposition. So for clarity, we are using POI. That's point of information. House, the rules are, when you're impressed with the points, we don't clap with stamps. Those are the rules. And she will be our timekeeper. We have the opening. We are going to use 5 minutes for the opening. 5 minutes each. So the opening halves, you're going to have 5. Yes? 3 minutes uninterrupted, then the last is interrupted, and the last is uninterrupted. Are we okay with that? Are you okay with that? 5 minutes. Timekeeper, hope you're aware. 3 minutes uninterrupted. The last is interrupted. Then the last one, which is the 5th, is uninterrupted. So hope the rules of engagement are clear. We're using POI. Please, let's respect each other. When a person raises POI 3 times, just stand up and raise your hand. Without any further delay, this House believes COVID-19 vaccination should be made mandatory. As I conclude, both openings, the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition, please, when you come on board, state your names. Both houses, state your names for issues of clarity. Then the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition, please restate the motion so as we know that we have the same motions that we are debating. Right? That said, allow me to yield the floor. I'm going to give you prep time of 2 minutes. At exactly 4, we are beginning.
Team government, team opposition. I'm the Prime Minister, Team Brazzaville, BSU. So this House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be made mandatory. So panel, we believe that our tonight's debate happens in a world whereby countries and communities were hit by the COVID-19, right? Which is a very contagious virus that has claimed a lot of lives. We believe that tonight's debate happens in a world where people were free with sharing with each other, socializing with each other. But there came a contagious virus called COVID-19. This virus has claimed a lot of lives. This virus has claimed a lot of comfortability, and we believe that tonight's debate happens in a world where people are pressing an effort to control this COVID-19 spread. So panel, we believe that the keywords in tonight's resolution, one, there is the keyword mandatory. Panel, we are defining the word mandatory as something that is made compulsory, like you establish a policy, you establish something, and you make it compulsory for every citizen. But panel, most importantly, in tonight's debate as the opening government, we are making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory to a specific category of people. Who is that category? We are making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory to the essential workers of our Uganda's economy. But no, we are not making mandatory COVID-19 vaccination to every citizen of Uganda, but we are narrowing it down and making it compulsory to the essential workers and the civil servants that drive the economy of Uganda. Who are those? We include doctors, we include nurses, we include community development workers, we include teachers, we include security officers, and we include whoever is in charge of working in any other economic sector in the country. So now we have felt that this COVID-19 should not be made mandatory to any citizen of Uganda. But we feel that if we put the mandatory vaccination on these essential workers, that they are the people who have high chances of interacting with the rest of the population, we should make them mandatory, such that one, we urge about the economic development. If these development workers are made safe, they are vaccinated against COVID-19, and which means they will live longer. It means we shall have sustainable economic development. If we are having our doctors safe, if we are having our nurses safe, if we are having our teachers safe, it means we shall have sustainable economic development. Our sector shall be flourishing, and we shall prolong that development for a long time. But we urge for the second argument that we shall reduce the spread and death rates. Remember, COVID-19 is very contagious. It kills. So we believe that there are these teachers who teach in schools, there are these doctors who treat patients, there are these community development officers who run the yoga program. So we must vaccinate them such that as they go in the community to interact with people, they should not be with any effect of COVID-19. But what did we plan for the rest of the population? We plan for the rest of the population that they should continue applying the SOPs. Those are the standard operating procedures. For example, sanitizing, washing hands, keeping social distance. That is the civilians, right? But when it comes to these essential workers of the economy, the civil servants that serve the people with social services, COVID-19 vaccination must be made mandatory. So finally, OG argues about two arguments. That one, if we make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory for these essential workers, we shall have sustainable economic development simply because we shall have made them safe, right? Then secondly, we urge on the level that we shall reduce the spread and death rates among people in the country. But we believe that at a point in the time, there are these workers that are traversing all over the country, going and serving their people, right? So in the first place, before we secure any civilian, right, we must secure these essential workers. We must secure these essential workers, and the rest of the civilians should be partnering with the SOPs, such that meanwhile we first secure these essential workers, and then we talk about the rest of the civilians. So finally, we think on those two level of arguments, we win tonight's debate. I raise my case.
Okay, it's at this chapter we'll have the leader of opposition.
From opening opposition, the resolution for today states that this House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be made compulsory. Ladies and gentlemen, before I do anything, we are all gathering in this place, and I'm sure that we were not all vaccinated. Ladies and gentlemen, the people from government side, they came here, they claimed about that they want to maintain economic sustainable Then they talked about reducing the spread of death rates, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, they talked about economic, that they want to first vaccinate essential workers, ladies and gentlemen. Essential workers, they have homes. Doctors, they will be going back home. Security men, they will be going back home, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to know, so if they are to vaccinate the people who are essential workers, are they going to sleep at the work? Are they going home, ladies and gentlemen? I leave that case for you. Because you can't tell me that you're going to vaccinate someone, he's working and he's going to go back home and leave the people at home. Is then those people at home going to give the disease to the person, ladies and gentlemen? They talked about the vaccinated people, they won't get the disease. They never clarified about that. We've seen people, many who've been vaccinated, many people who've been vaccinated, but they've gotten a disease again, ladies and gentlemen. When you try to check the statistics of Uganda, we are seeing the number of many people they've vaccinated, but they are getting the disease again. So I don't see the reason why people from government say they should come here and claim that they are going to first inject, they are going to first vaccinate the essential workers. Where they talk about doctors, teachers, security workers, mentioned by the few, ladies and gentlemen. They say those people, they are going to first work, those who are dealing with essential economic businesses. So those people who are going to be rating our problem. So I would like to leave that case for judges, because those people, we want, if they are to make it mandatory, they have to vaccinate all the people in the country. They have to vaccinate the people, the workers, and the people whom they are living with, ladies and gentlemen. On our status quo, we believe that the vaccine works, but then it's not very efficient. People are being vaccinated, but they've gotten the disease. That is our status quo, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that people have learned, for instance, people have learned to live with COVID-19, and I don't see the reason why these people should come and claim that they should vaccinate people. And ladies and gentlemen, wait, ladies and gentlemen, they also talked about reducing the death rates. If they want to reduce the death rates, ladies and gentlemen, that was their second point. They gave us only 2 points: economic, government, and reducing the death rates, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about reducing the death rate by vaccinating the people, people have died. People are dying, and people who are vaccinated, they are dying, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen many people who are vaccinated, but again they died. I don't see the reason why they should come here and claim that they are reducing death rates, since many people are dying, ladies and gentlemen. I've given the point that people have learned to live with the disease. They've learned to live with the disease. So I don't see the reason why they should force people to do what? To vaccinate, ladies and gentlemen. We the people from opposition side, we've come here with our points. For instance, this vaccine they are dropping, they never gave it enough time and grant the point.
What does COVID-19 vaccination provide to the vaccinated person? What does COVID-19 vaccination provide to the vaccinated person?
COVID-19 vaccination, what does it provide the vaccinated? They provide a job, ladies and gentlemen. But then, I would like, if they provide a job, people, why is it that other people who were vaccinated, they are still dying, ladies and gentlemen? We've seen people who are vaccinated, but they are still dying. I would like them to come here and tell us clearly, if they are, we believe people who are vaccinated, they shouldn't get that disease again. Because if you get the definition of the right vaccine, they just vaccinated people with the vaccine, which they never gave it enough time to test, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that we shall follow the medical ethics. Well, by medical ethics, we have sensitization, we have teaching. They should teach people from the SOPs other than forcing people to be vaccinated, ladies and gentlemen. And again, the vaccine which they broke, it's not enough. Many people have not yet vaccinated, and others have vaccinated. So I would like these people from government side to come here and give us clear point whether they are going to make it mandatory to every people, even those who are at home. Because you can't tell me that people at home, they are going to be living along, and those at the work, they're going to be living at home, ladies and gentlemen. With those, I stand to speak. Thank you.
I'm Tabitha. Finally, this House believes that COVID-19 should be made mandatory. And of course, my able Prime Minister came here and defined what mandatory is. So which means that we are going to make vaccination mandatory to only essential workers, which the opposition have failed to understand. Secondly, they are here asking us that what the people in the homes not get the COVID-19 even when the essential workers have gotten the vaccination, but they fail to understand the essence of why we are vaccinating these people. Firstly, we are vaccinating them not to cure them from the COVID-19, but to boost their immunity against this vaccine. Yes, we understand that these people can, to a small extent, get the vaccine, but from what we have so far realized, the majority of the people that have gotten vaccinated have not gotten the COVID-19. And so we as the government, we are going to maintain the status quo, but at the same time, we are going to ensure that the essential workers get vaccinated. And when we mean by essential workers, we mean that these are the people who are essentially valuable in terms of keeping our economy at a high rate. And secondly, we are choosing these people because they are the people that are at the forefront of fighting the spread of COVID-19. For example, we listed that the doctors, the nurses, they are medical personalities, we have the teachers and etc. So these people fail to understand that no, we are not dealing with the majority of the citizens, nor are we dealing with the 45 million people, but we are only dealing with the only 16% of the people, and this is going to help us. Now he talked about the vaccines not being enough, but we as a government, we are saying that yes, we have realized that problem, and that's why we are choosing this few so that we can maintain the status quo by getting the vaccines or the amount of vaccines that we can get as a country, because we understand we are a third world country, we are a country that has debt burden, and we are, as a country, we cannot afford these vaccines, but we are saying that we are going to deal with these 16% of the essential workers because they are the forefront. Then the Prime Minister comes here and talks about that the major thing why we are making this vaccination mandatory is because we are aiming at economic development. You realize that essential workers are at the backbone of economic development, whereby in order to maintain things like SOPs, in order to maintain things like the lockdown, we need these people to keep working as these people are in their homes. So if we are going to release these people into the public, we need them to be safe first in order for them to do what they are supposed to do, in order for them to secure our economic development. And maybe they might not even understand what economic development is. Economic development is where there is a high GDP in a country and we can afford to facilitate most of the social services in the country. For example, the medical services that we are talking about. So if they are talking about not making it mandatory, then how are we supposed to provide these services if we are not even vaccinating the people that are supposed to bring out these services to the people? So we are saying that we as a government, we are going to first vaccinate these people that are supposed to deliver the services that are supposed to secure our economic development first, because we are giving them a priority, and that's why we are making it mandatory. At the same time, we as a government, we are saying that we are not going to go away with what is already in place, because we already have SOPs and we have gone through lockdown. So ladies and gentlemen, that we are saying that on top of mandatory vaccinations of the essential workers, we are going to also maintain the SOPs we are going to maintain the SOPs and the lockdown. And ladies and gentlemen, from the example of Uganda, we are seeing that we are managing this, because at the end of the day, we are all here. Some of us are vaccinated, even others are not, but we're not essential workers. So ladies and gentlemen, as opening government, we are saying that yes, we are going to make vaccination mandatory for the essential workers, while the majority of the citizens, or all citizens, are going to maintain the SOPs, and we are also going to maintain the other methods of curbing the disease. And then they also fail to understand that this disease called COVID-19, it is an acute respiratory illness which is caused by the coronavirus. It is highly spread through airborne, through people being in contact. So if they do not want these people to be vaccinated, then which other alternative do they want to bring on the table? Because they come here and they refuse the mandatory vaccination, but they refuse to give us an alternative. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our case.
Good afternoon. During the times we take my name, Jim Hayden, the BSU opposition. This House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be mandatory. I highly disagree. Reasons being one, the effectiveness of this vaccine has not been proved very well. They may come in and give us the thing of essential workers. Essential workers, you're going to start with the essential workers. However, since the vaccine is not very effective, it means they have the liability to get affected by the COVID-19. And since they are essential workers, they will still go to the public. And the public will get COVID-19. And the public that you have not vaccinated will still get the virus. So I think it's reasonable. So, to continue, when you come to tell us that the essential workers are the backbone of economic development, I pity you. Essential workers just help give us the essential workers you're talking about are the doctors who are going to treat us. They are the politicians who are going to lie to us and steal our money. I don't care about those things. I mostly care for our doctors. And on those doctors, we have specific people within those guys. I care for those doctors because they have a right to choice. I am a citizen, I am a doctor, and I'm a person who has human rights, and I have a right to my choice. The choice is, I can either be vaccinated or I cannot be vaccinated. And I will live up to the consequences to why I'm not being vaccinated or I'm not being vaccinated. Because the basic fact remains that the COVID-19 vaccine has been made in a very short span. And the span means they have not yet gotten something that will gradually help and support and disintegrate the virus itself. And the point you should understand that when you decide to give someone a vaccination is supposed to help you never to get the disease again. But if by the time your vaccine allows me to get the disease again, I wouldn't call it vaccination. Rather, I will have my own choice of right as a human right and make my own choice so that I suppose my life and continue, not continue. So, generally, we as opposition coming in a choice of way. Our point case of stand is that we are determining the choice and right of the people, and we are determining our human right as people. We are not so sure of the vaccine effectiveness. We are not so sure of how it is going to affect us. Again.
Do you think COVID-19 vaccination does away with SOPs?
No, it doesn't. Wait. Since COVID-19 doesn't do away with the SOPs, we have been living with the SOPs granted to us since COVID-19 came, right? And the fact that we have been living with those SOPs, we have managed to live with what? We have managed to live and adapt to what COVID-19 that is currently going on, even without the vaccination. I'm not vaccinated, but I'm living. So we as opposition have brought in the standard. We want to have our right to choose, and we shall deem circumstance and undergo the consequences for what we have done that choice. And it's our human right to choose whether to vaccinate or not to vaccinate in our kind of view. With this, I raise my case. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start my speech before that, for matters of clarity, I'll take a POI from CO. Yeah, CO. I'm not taking OO because they have said all their stuff. I'm taking CO and I'll take it in the 3rd minute. And I'm starting my speech in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Panel. Resolved. This House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be made mandatory. So what we primarily hear from Team OG. Team OG comes and talks about the fact that we are going to have that sort of improvement in the economic development rate. But we think all that is right. But then what we hear from OO comes and talks about the fact that we need to vaccinate all the people right. But then a couple of rebuttals to this point itself. When they come and talk about the fact that we have to vaccinate all people, then we ask ourselves, what then do we use as a government to vaccinate
vaccinate all people, because we have to first consider the fact that vaccines are actually not there, but then we want the economy itself to keep improving rate or to keep developing rate. So we think at a point in time where you say that, oh, I have to wait till I get that sort of vaccines till they become very many. That means at that point in time, you are not going to get even those vaccines itself. But Papalo also, we need to question the fact that these vaccines themselves are actually, they have expiry dates and the dates that they actually manufactured, right? So we think at a point in time where you say that, oh, you want me to come and say that, right, if at all I make a vaccine, I have the first data for all the people, right? But we think at that point, what if that vaccine itself expires? That's why we think that sort of questioning of saying that we should vaccinate all people is actually out of today's debate, right? But then, what do they come and talk about? Well, they come and emphasize on the fact that them as people of a certain country have that sort of right to choice, right? But we think the government itself is mandated under social contract theory to protect its citizens' right. In that it actually has to protect its citizens from making choices that are actually going to harm them. So we think at that point in time where we feel that if at all you say that you do not want to vaccinate, we think that it is actually going to harm you because you are not going to improve that sort of body immunity. So we think all case is actually out. But then what we come with, understand this is the new matter that we are bringing in today's debate, and this is why we stand to win even from, and this is why we stand to win OG. But understand that humanity itself is a species that has been curtailed from extinction rate. But then understand that humanity has existed in very many terms, right? I'm bringing 3 extensions. One, I'll recharacterize the debate. Then I'll show you characterization on vaccination itself because we think OG did not characterize it well. I'll characterize COVID-19 itself. Then I'll bring 2 points which my speaker will actually come and extend more and then 2 more on the rebuttals from CO. 1, we think COVID-19 itself looks like this. COVID-19 is this sort of vaccine that comes not not to protect or preserve citizens, but rather to create that sort of stop from citizens' life, right? So we think COVID-19 itself is actually a temporary vaccine, right? A temporary virus. So we think at the point in time where you do not use that time when it is still there and wait for that real time for it to actually stop. We think even time it's going to finish the humanity itself. But then, why do we think vaccination will stop all this? We think vaccination will create that sort of sustainability of the lives of the people in that they will actually be there to live, right? But also, we think it will actually curtail this sort of pandemic in that, when COVID-19 came, there was that sort of pandemic, right? But we think how it curtails this sort of pandemic is that it creates hope to the government that everything is actually going to be better, right? So we think at a point in time where everything is actually proved to be right at a certain point in time, we think after curtailing that sort of pandemic, that means that even those people are going to relive even in that sort of pandemic itself. That means people are going to learn to adapt new areas. That live examples is how people actually interpret the human flu. States embark on the fact that they embark on the approach of helping these citizens. So 1, we bring in the fact that it will actually create, if at all we do not vaccinate these people in a comparative panel, if at all we do not make it compulsory, that means it will frustrate government's efforts. We have been able to show you new matter, whereby we have characterized COVID-19 itself, we have characterized the vaccine itself, but then we have showed you on a comparative analysis what is going to happen. Panel, we win.
Starting my speech in 1, 2, 3. Panel, what we get from the opening half of the government are not even facts, they just fallacies based on assumptions that provided you're immunizing the 16%, the 94% is going to be, rather the 84% is going to be safe. Panel, it's not secret that in an attempt to prioritize the essential workers at first when they brought the vaccine, of course they did it, but what happened at the end of the day? We saw the number of cases escalating and increasing because these people they're choosing to prioritize, first of all, interact with everyone out there. Secondly, apart from that, these people themselves, some of them at the bottom of their hearts wouldn't wish to be vaccinated, but well, they have chosen to do what? To mandate it. And we want to draw the line here. Team opposition is not against vaccination, but we are up for vaccination provided you want to be vaccinated. So, secondly, from the opening half of the government, they bring assumptions that, well, we are looking at sustainability. Still, it is not secret that prioritizing essential workers and letting them continue to work cripple the economy more. Because majority of the economy belong to the formal sector. And these people are the ones they are not looking at. Secondly, what we get from the second bit of the government is, well, they are advocating for the mandate of the government. And what do we bring us in closing opposition? Number one, it is illegitimate to mandate a vaccine to anyone. Why does the entire government bench fail? One, because their case, first of all, is fighting for a right that is nowhere included in the law of Uganda. No one is mandated to get a vaccine. There is no clear law that states it. Secondly, even though you choose and you want to prioritize, well and good, it's better for us to attain a vaccination where someone is freely willing to be vaccinated. Secondly, their best case they bring us the team closing government is what? What are we looking at? We are frustrating. If we choose not to vaccinate, we are frustrating the government efforts. But it's clearly stated. Second.
Thank you very much. Don't you think that when COVID-19 itself came, there arose what we call a state of emergency, and which is justified in the Constitution itself?
Thank you very much. Whether a state of emergency, the facts speak for themselves. There's no law in Uganda that is advocating for mandatory vaccination. So that is still an assumption until it's attained. Actually, the whole case from government is just an assumption based on sentiments that of, well, what if we choose to prioritize this? But as team as closing government, what we bring? One, we are advocating for that. We are telling you this is not going to work because it's illegitimate. So at the end of the day, what are we advocating for? Let us help people aim for vaccination when they actually want. So that is why you see on the recent campaigns of sickle cell and HIV, people went ahead and used influential people in the society. They use the different bodies, and these things actually brought up better what results compared to you telling someone, I'm forcing you to do this. So what are we advocating for? We are not going to allow you to get, we are not going to agree to this and make vaccination mandatory because one, it's illegitimate, and two, in the world they are trying to paint of making it mandatory, we are not going to get better results because for starters, even these essential workers you're looking to prioritize, some of them don't wish to get these vaccines. But what if we choose to use influential figures? What if we use to engage these people and to tell them the benefits of what? Vaccination. In the world we're trying to paint is we are going to have more people willing to take these vaccinations because they're actually now doing what? Willing. And at the end of the day, what are we looking at? We are looking at engaging the formal sector of the economy, the informal sector of the economy, because this is the majority. So at the end of the day, in the end result, our world gives better economic development because the informal sector that makes up over 80% of this economy is engaged. These people are going to go back out there and work. Secondly, we are going to have better results because now this person who has been vaccinated is willing to spread the message and tell you that, well, this is good. Furthermore, to wrap up the government bench, they tell us that, well, this looks at prioritizing the immunity. According to the evolution of the world, we all have different genetic makeups. These vaccines are made on an assumption that they're going to work for us. If you force someone, we all have the different, you know what? We all have different biological makeup. So then this means we are going to, I can get adverse effects. The entire government fails because, well, even though we're to treat them at their best case and we say it's mandatory, they don't have measures in place to cater for the adverse effects of vaccination. So that leaves a very big loophole in their case. They haven't catered for these people who are going to get the adverse effects of vaccination, but, well, they are preaching for vaccination. So this is even going to cripple our economy the more. Because you're forcing someone who would have had already a strong economy to engage in this. This is uncertain. What if things go wrong? You haven't catered for them. So you're leaving the entire thing there. That is why we win this debate, because we have painted a better world for you and nothing government can score ahead of us. Thank you.
Result. This House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should not be made mandatory. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to begin with, in our speech as the closing government, we specifically told you about the social contract theory, where we believe that the government has the mandate to protect its citizens. But before, I wanted to bring it to the mind of the opposition that they should first put that in mind before they talk about all the other policies, and assuming there is no policy in the laws that actually tell someone to do whatever they are instructed to do. Where we also see that there is also the state of emergency, where we believe that is not actually that causes frustration is supposed to be protected, or there has to be a state of, or they have to put a state of emergency where certain cases that cause frustration are up. So now we believe it is the role of the government to protect its citizens. Where a government decides to protect its citizens by putting vaccination, we believe it is something that they are supposed to do, and we believe it is something that will not actually frustrate. Sit back. It is something that will not frustrate the efforts of the government. After all, we know that it is something that will come up that the opposition will actually be like, okay, what has the government done for us? So, for the purposes of the government being on the safer side and performing their duties, because it is under the social contract theory that they are supposed to protect their citizens, we believe it is that very point that will actually help the government do what is best, what best suits the citizens, rather than following what the citizens think, because we do not believe there is a kind of government which will accept its citizens to die. And we think in that case, it is something that is so good that we also, we are supposed to vaccinate the essential workers before we go for all the other people, because we told you the old SOPs will be for the other people. Now going forward, they came here, they told us that they asked them, why do then people vaccinate? And yet the people have learned to live with COVID-19. We've seen in the contemporary world, people running to get vaccinated. So we think in that case,
thank you. That marks the end of the government side. We now will come the closing side of the opposition. CEO, you may now take on the floor.
I will take my POIs in the third minute. And I will start.
3 minutes. The chief whips are using 3 minutes.
Alright, I will start my speech. 3, 2, 1. I think this is one of the easiest debate to whip, because clearly the government doesn't bring any working mean on the table. What do you actually mean to someone who is actually not a doctor? So panel, it's not anything big to consider of who wins this debate, as the closing government win this debate, because clearly the rest of the people didn't do enough. Thank you so much.
Okay, you may now shake hands. Thank you so much. I'll first give the general overview of the debate. Then I'll give reasons to why some people learned, others won. So we had a motion, and the motion was that this House believes the COVID-19 vaccination should be made mandatory. And from the side of the government, they argued the fact, they gave us their parameters as COVID hit countries. They also gave what they defined in their key terms was mandatory, which means something made compulsory. They also gave us which kind of people are they looking at. They looked at essential workers and civil servants. Reasons for why they looked at that was the issue of economic development, to reduce the spread and death rates, but also put in consideration that they will be observing SOPs. Then the closing government concluded the entire bench of the argument that the government has a social contract theory to defend and protect the health rights of these people. That's why they use the mandatory syndrome of vaccinating these people. Then they also say the reason why they want to vaccinate these people is that they don't want to frustrate the government issues or the government needs. For example, the policies and also the vaccines that have already been brought in the country. But the chief whip of the opposition comes and says that other than forcing people, we have another alternative, which we call mob sensitization. That let's put awareness so as that when people are getting vaccinated, they know why and how, and the better results are than forcing them. So, to the panel, we had a vote, and we came to a conclusion. And the conclusion was, on no bias, on no corruption, to the vote of 3. To the vote of 3, the panel was made of 3. So becomes number 1. Closing opposition becomes number 1. Anonymous decision. Why closing opposition ranks number 1 is that it gave us the reasons that whereas government has valid reasons, it lacks legitimacy. No bias, a vote of 2 vis-a-vis 1. No, anonymous, by the way. Closing government becomes number 2. Opening opposition becomes 3. Now, the reason why opening government lands is to the merit of 2 to 1. The opening government becomes number 4 to land on these following grounds. 1. The motion clearly stated that this House believes the COVID-19 vaccination should be made mandatory. And the phrase catch to them was mandatory, and which I believe everyone would have defined. But government failed to characterize on these principles. 1, how do you forcefully vaccinate these people? 2, what is the least efficiency of this COVID-19 vaccine? Because 1, you're vaccinating these people, and these are the same people that are from hospitals after contracting, getting back the unvaccinated people. 3, the whole entire bench of opposition acts out a stronger case that look here, 16% that you're looking upon is on the government side, the civil servants, because they were arguing out that the essential workers are civil servants. These people do not contribute much to the economy of this country like the informal sector that the opposition was arguing about. In conclusion, on the merit of democracy, we found it best to look for a best speaker in this round. I mean, all of us voted one person as a best speaker. And the best speaker is Nakulima Denise Legre from Mass University. She can stand up for recognition. Why we all voted her to be the best speaker? 1, in her statement, because she was a member, she painted the broader picture. 1, she gave the 16% versus the 84%. She talked about the vaccination on freedom of choice. That whereas this, you have a goal to meet, but then you must meet the need of choice. 1, people have medical illness, people have other issues. So I must choose whether to get the vaccine or not, because 1, the government did not deny the fact that we still have SOPs and we still have vaccination. I may put on a mask and fail to get vaccinated. So as a panel, we come to a conclusion and we appreciate either sides, those who have won and those who have learned, that tomorrow we can be better. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mass Teams, for coming to train us. We hope for a reconnection, right? So thank you, my fellow team.
I mean, when you're here and you see what people are speaking, and you see these people speaking, and you get to make friends, and then you extend the boundaries. When you're there, you tell someone, I saw at BSU in one of the debate sessions, and why are you here anyway? Just to keep in a cage. What's a university anyway? Just to keep in a cage. Just to be confined in that small room. And when you move out, you don't have any idea. Hey, you are the generation Uganda is waiting for.
We are recognizing you, Master Fraternity, for honoring our invitation. Go and still remember BSU Human Society. A moment of epic for the purposes of clarity. So still be there. We are rewarding our today's best speaker.